I'm Vinnie Politan. The subject of my investigation is the Bahamian love triangle murder plot. Former beauty queen Lindsay Shiver married her rich college sweetheart Robert Shiver, but is accused of plotting with her Bahamian lover to murder him. Here's the story. From the outside, everything seemed amazing. Former beauty queen and cheerleader Lindsay Shiver married her college sweetheart Robert Shiver. He was a football player at Auburn and came from a family with lots of wealth. Life was good. The good-looking young couple had 3 boys and lived in a sprawling $2.5 million home in Thomasville, Georgia. They flew on his family's private jet and had a vacation home in the Bahamas. And that's where this story turns bad. Lindsay allegedly had an affair with a younger man who lived on the islands and worked at Grabber's Bar. Robert found out about it and filed for divorce. Things got nasty, and that's where this story turns really bad. Lindsay, along with her Bahamian boyfriend, are accused of soliciting a hitman to kill Robert. Lindsay is now getting ready for her upcoming trial in the love triangle murder plot in Paradise. Unbelievable story, and what a shame. You've got everything. You've literally got everything. Okay, maybe your marriage doesn't work out, but still, you still have everything until you don't. I want to go through the timeline of this case. Let's bring in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas, who's been looking at this. This hour, we're going to spend a lot of time walking through the timeline on what happened here, because it's important to know all the communications, police calls, et cetera, that led up to this moment. Let's start with the timeline up until the point that they both file for divorce.
Yeah, Vinny, you touched on it there. This is a family that seemingly had it all. You have the football star marrying the pageant queen. They both get together and settle in southern Georgia, but clearly things were not as they seemed as their marriage started to get angry and bitter. Lindsay Shiver has this new boyfriend, but let's walk through those early months of 2023. So we have constructed this timeline here, and we start on February 18th, where Lindsay Shiver takes a weekend solo trip without her family. 2 days later, February 20th, Robert called 911, afraid that Lindsay was trying to set him up with the police. And Vinny, let's take a listen to a bit of that 911 call right now.
So my wife just got back from out of town, and I believe that we are heading down the road of getting divorced. She just cut my cell phone off from Verizon. She called Verizon and had my cell phone disconnected. So I'm calling on my mother's phone at the Verizon store, because the only way I can get it back active is if she releases it. Mm-hmm. So I have to go over to our home. And with the way that she is behaving, I feel like she might try and call the police to try to set me up as soon as I get there. And I wanted to try to get out in front of it, because I'm not a risk of, doing anything crazy. I'm just trying to go to my house, and if I need to pack my stuff and leave, I can pack my stuff and leave.
So, Vinny, some bitter behavior there. Clearly this marriage was not going down the most ideal path, with one spouse thinking that the other spouse is trying to, quote, set them up.
Yeah, this is really bizarre behavior. At what point do they end up filing for divorce?
They end up filing for divorce, Vinny, in April, moving forward past February when he calls 911. They filed for divorce, both one on April 5th, that's Robert, then on April 6th, that's when Lindsay actually files for divorce. So 2 months after this call that we just listened to. All
right, Cody's going to be with us a whole hour. That brings us to the first question in our investigation tonight, and it's probably the most important question to get to the bottom of why this is all happening. What went wrong in their relationship? And we put that question over this photo, which if you saw that photo online, you'd be like, wow, what an amazing family they look like. Here to help answer that question is host of the 13th Juror podcast and Crime Junkie Jury. Brandy Churchwell is with us. Brandy, great to see you tonight. Thanks so much for joining us. You know, you look at the photos, right? And you see the picture, good-looking couple, beautiful children, sprawling mansion, private jets. Everything is taken care of, but you get behind closed doors and things just aren't right. What do you think went wrong here in this relationship?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You're looking at this and it's a picture perfect, you know, Instagram ready family. But then when you start looking at all of the allegations, it's just, it's not at all what, you know, the public perception was. I think for it to have gotten to the point that it did, you know, there's so many allegations that they have towards each other. You know, Lindsay is accusing Robert of physical, mental, and emotional abuse. Robert is accusing Lindsay of infidelity, you know, multiple affairs. And while it looks like they have this great marriage, it seems like behind the scenes, things were deteriorating for a long time. So I think that by the time they actually got to the point where they're filing for divorce, you know, they're living under the same roof still, but they're living essentially separate lives. And you have these 911 calls being made over various disputes. And you heard in the clip you just played, she had his cell phone cut off and he thinks, you know, she's going to set him up with police. This is toxic behavior. And I think it created a cycle of resentment and escalating tension, and it just kind of snowballed. So I don't think there was one moment where things went wrong. I think this was years of unresolved conflict that finally boiled over. Also joining us right now, news director for WTVY in Dothan, Alabama. Ken Curtis is back with us. Ken, great to see you. What are your thoughts here about the relationship? What went so south here in this relationship?
Well, it's hard to say, but we know something went very south from all indications. When they were in college, this couple was very happy. They had children. People who knew them thought they were a very happy couple, and then something changed. I don't know that we ever have the answer to what changed here, but, you know, they're just like any other couple. The dynamics of a marriage do not necessarily stay the same. So just like any other couple, Vinny, the point is that there's a lot of couples who have marriages fall apart just like they do. These people, though, are in the public spotlight, so they get scrutinized about why it deteriorated, but it may be as a good many marriages do. Yeah. And you mentioned college. So, you know, I look at the relationship and it seems like, you know, they fell in love at a young age. I mean, years ago, it may not have been a young age, but for, you know, modern days, that's kind of young. Your college sweetheart, your high school sweetheart. And I guess maybe they sort of grew apart to a certain extent. Do we know much about her, Ken? Did she work, or was she, you know, at home, basically I mean, it's a full-time thing, 3 children. You're no longer you're playing zone at that point, but was that what her time was spent doing most of the days? I think, Vinny, most of her time was spent doing that. Also, when you talk about the couple, you remember, you must bear in mind, both of them came from fairly, if not wealthy, certainly comfortable backgrounds. So they had pretty much what they needed. She did raise the 3 children. But now she's talking about now through her attorney. I read a report today that she wants the ankle bracelet or ankle bracelet around her legs. She wants it off because she wants to go to work as a model. Yeah, that's an interesting twist, right? Brandy, so what are your thoughts here about the fact that these two are under the same roof? They know they've got young children. They seem to be presenting as a family, but living very separate lives. Because we look at that timeline Cody was taking us through. She takes a solo trip on the 18th. So I think by that time, this thing is broken already. Yeah, I cannot stress enough, if you are in a toxic relationship, living under the same roof is not a good idea. And it's not like they didn't have the means to have separate living spaces. So I don't know why that
was the situation they chose. I think that probably had a lot to do with how toxic the situation got and how much it spiraled. You can see on body cam footage from one of the 911 calls when, she was not going to be allowed on the private jet. She even says, this is a weird situation. I'm living here in the house with him, but we're actually separated, going through divorce. And she said, I think her words were something like, it's a living hell or something like that. But it's such a toxic situation. And I hate that the kids would have had to witness any of that, because there are allegations in some of the paperwork where she says that, some of these fights got really out of hand in front of the children.
And Ken, she's from Alabama, correct? And he's the one from Georgia. So at that point, when things are breaking up, for her to be with her family, she'd have to leave the state. She would be nowhere necessarily near him or the kids, and it might be a little more complicated.
Well, she is here in Alabama. In fact, we occasionally will hear about her sightings or people seeing her around town. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, someone said, I saw her at a Mexican restaurant. From all accounts, though, you remember she came back home from the U.S. after her arrest on bail, and then the judge put her back in that Bahamian jail, and then she got out again. I can tell you this, from all accounts, she's taking a much lower profile than she did that time. From here to Thomasville, Georgia, where her estranged husband lived, is only about an hour, 25-minute road trip. So they're close enough that, she's not really that far from him. But we hear about her around town, and the case here is just not really talked about as it was when it first broke. It's kind of forgotten, so to speak.
Yeah, until the trial happens, and that's around the corner. All right.
If the trial happens, Vinny,
That's true. All right, our guests are staying with us. We got much more to get to. Coming up next, is the bitter breakup a viable motive here?
Where's your husband been staying?
Oh, at my house.
Okay.
It's a lovely situation.
The disappearance of Mother Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Behind the bar.
Lindsay, any comment for your family back home, your boys? How about Robert? Any message for Robert? Where are you staying here on the island? Lindsay, you want to say anything about the allegations? Any message to Robert or the boys?
Matt Johnson chasing Lindsay Shiver down in the Bahamas. What a case. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. Cody, we're going through this timeline. Let's move now to the month of April and what's happening in April.
Well, Vinny, to keep it frank, that's when both Robert and Lindsay Shiver filed for divorce from each other. Now, in his filing, Robert claimed adulterous behavior. In her filing, Lindsay claimed that Robert had become physically and mentally aggressive. So again, very angry, very acrimonious divorce going on here. But let's walk through that timeline where we left off, Vinny. We're going to begin now at the last week of March in 2023. Now, the Shiver family takes a vacation, a family vacation to the Bahamas. April 5th, Robert files for divorce. April 6th, Lindsay files for divorce. Almost a week later, April 12th, Robert calls 911 about a strange package. Then by the end of the month, April 30th, Robert, his mother, and Lindsay call 911 during a custody exchange. Now, Vinny, let's take a look at body cam from that day once police arrive after those 911 calls.
Lindsay Shiver?
Yeah.
Okay. My in-laws are in the parking lot right there. In the white Lexus.
Yeah.
I've tried to call them. This is my attorney on the phone. And have not been able to get a hold of them. But that's what I was calling for, was for y'all to come meet with me, because I'm trying to meet up with my husband right now. So we're headed home, and then I get the message that he's dropping them with his parents, who have no rights.
Okay.
So as a witness for me, that's why I called y'all, to meet me at his parents' house.
You called?
I called. I was the first one to call.
The whole reason we're here is they said that you were following them, and they said you were harassing them. And let me read it. I'm pretty sure they said threatening them, but if you didn't talk to them, then
I didn't talk to them at all.
they were saying that you were following them, obviously, and that you got a gun, which isn't illegal. It doesn't
No, I don't, though.
It doesn't matter, though.
But I don't.
And
Oh my God.
yeah,
Oh
so
my God.
she,
You're welcome to
mother-in-law,
search my car.
something is. She's freaking out, apparently,
She's
but
hypomanic.
but
She's a mental issue. All
Yeah.
three of the people in the car have mental issues. Don't know.
yeah,
They don't need my kids.
yeah, they're saying the same thing. as well.
Y'all don't know her. You don't know her like me.
No, I don't know.
So it's not a good environment. It's a toxic environment, and it's.
Well, I mean, considering not just you, but her own mom saying the same thing, I'd be inclined to believe it.
We were headed to where our big home is up for sale because Robert was going to bring the kids and let us see him because Lindsay was not answering their phone calls all day today. So they thought she killed herself, to be honest, and had taken an overdose or something.
Now, Vinny, this is all after that 911 call that Robert made about Lindsay supposedly setting him up. This is after a family vacation, and clearly we can see those weeks after that family vacation were a little less than ideal.
Absolutely. All right. That brings us to the next question in our investigation. It's about the nature of this breakup. Is the bitter breakup a viable motive to try to hire a hitman to take out your husband? Here to help us with our investigation, criminal defense attorney, former federal prosecutor Tim Jansen, and still with us, news director from WTVY in Dothan, Alabama, Ken Curtis. Tim, what are your thoughts here about, is that a viable motive? You know, whether you're arguing in front of a jury or a judge, you're in a courtroom and you're saying, this is why she wanted to kill him. I mean, there are just, you know, unfortunately, thousands and thousands of breakups in our country.
You know, unfortunately, most of the murders you see now, Vinny, are because of a breakup. It's usually about money, not really the kids. But what the usual one is where the husband has a new girlfriend, he's killing the wife. And he does that because the divorce is going to take half the money, kids are going to get split up. Most laws give equal custody. But now in this case, you have the wife who's living this life of privilege. She wants to take on the family plane. She wants to go to the family Bahamas home. She wants to have her own trips to the Bahamas. So she has every reason to want to keep or have him killed, right? Because you might have insurance money. He was an executive with 3 young kids. So there's probably money there. She'll keep the big house. It's a lot easier than a nasty divorce if something happens to him.
Ken, what are your thoughts here? And you know a lot about her family and her situation. I mean, and the question, it comes down to this, right? It's like, you know, bitter divorce versus like just hire a hitman and be done with it.
Yeah, but where's the motive on that? I mean, she comes from a affluent family here. My perception is there would not be money problems, whether she's with Robert Shiver, whether she's away from Robert Shiver, or whether Robert Shiver is dead. I don't think the money was all that big of an issue given her family connections here in Southeast Alabama.
So, Tim, as we continue to look at this situation, right, and there's, you know, layers to what's going on here with the family back and forth. And it seemed in that body cam, one of the things I took away from it was her family was questioning her mental status. Like they were fearing that she might take her own life. And I think they even referenced that her own mother was fearful to a certain extent of that. But she's turning around and kind of saying the same thing about them. Do you think that's any part of what's going on here, that there are some potential mental health issues?
Well, certainly there can be, but I think both sides, look, the parents are going to protect their grandchildren and their son. She wants to protect her children. She says that she doesn't want her children around what's going on, but yet she wanted to get on the plane that time and go see her lover. So, and we really don't know the motive financially, because I'm sure the prosecutors are going to find out if he had an insurance policy. What was the insurance policy? What was his will? You know, those are all key facts that have to be considered. Now, normally people don't kill each other when they really should just get a divorce. But I think her actions really start after she's got this lover, some text messages. And sure, you know, we all go to a baseball game and we'll yell, kill the bum, right? Kill the guy. You don't mean it. But in this case, she did a little more than that. She had this lover's friend. She got mad she couldn't get on the plane. She texted her boyfriend, sent an email on her WhatsApp, but she also sent a picture of him and said, kill him with a picture. That's a little more than just blowing off steam.
Ken, was there any, or is there any discussion about potential mental health issues here? That she may have been suffering some sort of a mental breakdown?
No, and obviously you could tell. I mean, there's obviously issues, what were issues in the marriage, but to say there were mental issues, I've never heard that suggested by anybody. There may be beyond that relationship issues. She may have issues with relationships. Remember, there is a man awaiting trial here in Alabama on charges that he abused her. So that's another potential relationship problem there.
Absolutely. Ken Curtis, always great to catch up with you. Thank you so much. Great to see you. We'll be speaking as we get closer to perhaps a trial in this case. Tim Jansen's going to stick around. Still to come. Did Lindsay Shiver really want Robert dead? I'm Vinnie Politan. We continue our investigation of the Bahamian love triangle murder plot. Robert and Lindsay Shiver had a big house, 3 beautiful children, and a life of luxury. But now Lindsay has been charged in the Bahamas with plotting to murder her husband, Robert, along with her Bahamian lover. Here's the story. Lindsay and Robert Shiver seem to be living a fairy tale life together. At Auburn, he was a football star and she was the cheerleader and pageant queen. They got married, started a family, and had 3 wonderful boys. They lived in a sprawling mansion in Thomasville, Georgia, and flew a private jet to their vacation home in the Bahamas. Life was good. Then, Robert allegedly caught Lindsay having an affair with a bartender from Grabber's Bar in the Bahamas. He filed for divorce. She filed for divorce. But they continued to live together, and 911 calls were made to police. Then, on July 16th, she allegedly sent a message with her boyfriend to another man to have Robert killed. Now all 3 are charged in this murder plot in paradise, and everyone is wondering if this former cheerleader and beauty queen will spend decades behind bars in a Bahamian prison. And we've been going through the timeline of events that led up to this alleged murder plot. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. All right, so let's go to the month of July now in this timeline. And it seems there's a little more interaction with law enforcement.
Just a little bit more, Vinny. This is when things start to amp up and get just a little bit more angry, a little bit more bitter. So let's take a look back at our timeline here in July of 2023. On July 16th, Lindsay calls 911 over a private jet dispute. This is a dispute where she wanted to take the jet to see her new boyfriend, and Robert Shiver said, nah, that ain't gonna happen. So let's take a look at when police arrive to the house.
So what's going on? Y'all are separated, or what's the deal?
We have filed for divorce.
Okay.
Living in the same house. It's hell on earth, as you can imagine.
Okay.
But anyway, woke up this morning. We have travel plans to leave. And he's insisting that I don't go.
Okay.
And then I have my keys. He moves me out of the way, starts trying to unload my car. Tells me he owns the car, he owns the rights to it. Just got super aggressive, and that's when I called immediately because he's been physical before, and I'm just not doing that.
So are you just wanting to leave? Or is he supposed to be going with you?
Yeah, we're supposed to be going with our kids.
So what's going on this morning?
So for the last 3 weeks, maybe longer, she's had her couples trip planned with her boyfriend to go to Key West.
Okay, but she just said you're going.
That was to Key West.
They don't.
I'm taking my kids, my 3 boys, to the Bahamas this week.
Our kids.
Our kids. Yesterday, she sent a message saying that she's going to change her plans and now get on the airplane with me and the kids to go to the Bahamas.
But I own too,
and
by the
when
way.
we land, she's going to go to her boyfriend.
Elsewhere.
And me and the kids are going to our house. And I told her I'm not supporting that. And you're not getting on the airplane. That can mess with the kids' heads. And it's just something we're not going to do.
What a problem to have, right, Vinny? Arguing over who gets the private jet. Now, we go back to our timeline. We're still in July, and this is still on the same day, July 16th. Lindsay allegedly sends the kill him text to the hitman who was childhood friends with her lover, her new boyfriend, a man named Terrence Bethel. Now, Terrence took it upon himself. He did an interview with ABC News. Here's a few quotes of what he told ABC News during that interview. He said, "I'm definitely not guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. And Phalo's not guilty of being a hired hitman either. It's time to let the world know we're innocent." She sends the picture that was just sent to her. When she found out that he was there and the kids were home, that's when she was like, kill him. Whenever she gets into an argument with him and she tells me about it, of course I'm livid, but planning to murder him, no. So Vinny, that's, a public claim of innocence there by Lindsay's lover. Now, he referenced the picture that Lindsay sent him. That picture was of Robert Shiver out with another woman in the Bahamas, and it's not clear who took that picture initially, but that is the picture that Lindsay sent to him and the hitman with the caption, kill him.
Okay, just to clarify here, Cody, make sure I'm following all this. So the allegation is that the boyfriend is telling her, or she's angry at her husband and is telling the boyfriend that she's angry because the kids are in the house and he's at the bar.
That's exactly right. Now, again, we don't know who took the picture of Robert Shiver at the bar arm in arm with this other woman, but somebody sends that picture to Lindsay Shiver. She's complaining to Terrence Bethel, the boyfriend, about this picture. She sends that picture to Terrence Bethel in a group chat with the alleged hitman here saying, kill him. That's how that all went down.
Okay, thank you. It's a little complicated, right? It's not straightforward. That brings us to the next question in our investigation, the most important one for the trial, right? Did Lindsay Shiver really want Robert dead? Did kill him mean kill him, or did kill him mean, oh, kill him? Here to help answer the question is host of the 13 Juror podcast, Crime Junkie Jury, Brandy Churchwell, also joining us, true crime podcaster from Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. It is Tony Bruschi. All right, Brandy, what do you think? Did she really, right? The emphasis there is on the really. Did she really want Robert dead?
I think that there's so many times when we say things that we don't mean. If this had been a message with, kill him and an emoji or a rolling eyes emoji, like anything else, but it was kill him and a picture of him. And it was sent not just to the boyfriend, but to the boyfriend and the friend who is also the alleged hitman. So it just doesn't look good for her. I think that, intent here is, of course, the central question, and that's something that I think the jury may struggle with. But divorces involving allegations of infidelity and abuse and, loss of access to children, all of that can amplify emotions to extreme levels. But not all explosive messages reflect actual plans. In this case, it doesn't look good, though, because sending that picture along with it and sending it to that group chat with, you know, the other messages, it just, I don't think it looks good for her.
Yeah, and Tony, all this is happening. It seems like it's all happening in this very explosive day of emotions where she doesn't get to fly on the private jet. So she's mad to begin with. What are your thoughts here about the intent of this message? Kill him.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to context, and maybe not the kind of context her defense wants to talk about. I mean, this is a woman who speaks the language of entitlement and manipulation and everything that we've seen from her, from the GMA appearance to Inside Edition, the ankle monitor petition so she can be an influencer. It's all main character behavior. It's all look at me behavior. So when she allegedly sent the photo of Robert to Farrah Newbold Jr. with the words kill him, did she actually expect someone to follow through, or was this another dramatic performance, another look at me, look what you made me do, look what you made me say kind of moment, the kind of manipulation where you say the most extreme thing possible to feel powerful, to make yourself the center of the story without ever believing there'd actually be consequences? That is how people, the narcissists, tend to operate. They escalate, they push boundaries, and then often are genuinely shocked when someone actually takes them seriously.
Now, one part that I've never heard in this whole story, Brandy, and I don't know if you have any information about it, regarding, like, hitmen generally get paid. And usually there's a discussion. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've covered a lot of these cases through the years of Court TV where, you know, sometimes they're trying to hire a hitman, sometimes it's an undercover, sometimes it's someone else. But usually somewhere in the discussion is money. And it doesn't seem like that is part of what has been made public, at least.
I have not seen any information on it either. And it's one of those things that makes me wonder. As soon as I heard, when I first started looking into the story, as soon as I heard about the investigation into the $20,000 missing, that was the first thing that went in my mind. But as things have come out, you know, it's just, there hasn't been any information about any kind of money that's been exchanged. So I think that with the conspiracy part, that might be, you know, with the messages. And of course, not everything is public to us yet. We don't know everything that they know. But I think that just based on what we know, the conspiracy looks like it's not looking too good for with that part. But as far as the money exchange, that may be one of the only things that kind of, you know, if they don't have any evidence of that, then that may be one of the things that actually helps the two defendants in the Bahamas.
Hey, Tony, when we talk about murder for hire, like it's like you're hiring someone. I mean, he could also just be doing a favor for his friend, but wow, what kind of favor is that? Like the accused hitman is someone who's connected politically down there, like his family's connected. He's like an electrician, he's a DJ, he's got a few things going on. And I'm wondering, are you wanting to see some sort of, okay, well, what's the quid pro quo here? I'm going to kill this guy, but like, what's in it for me?
Is it all for love? Is it a do for love situation? or is there money involved? I would like to see money, but we're talking here about a lot of entitled people, including the folks in the Bahamas. And what I kind of get to on this is it's a group of young people, very entitled, that don't seem to understand the gravity of their words and the gravity of consequences that come with those words that are being used if someone were to see these things that they don't want to have seen. My gut tells me this was just very, very early stages in anything. Could it have gone somewhere further? Could there have been those next steps with money? Sure. Or would this have all just crumbled under a couple days of thinking of, yeah, that was really a horrible idea? The problem is it's documented, it's in the texts, there's the kill him message, and now it's going to be up to a jury to determine just how legitimate those thoughts were.
Yeah, and you're so right, Brandy, when it's the combination. You know, I could just kill him or kill him, but you're sending a photo of the guy, and it's not just you know, espousing to your boyfriend. There's the third wheel in all of this, and that's the really the part I think that could be a big problem for her. Brandy Churchwell, always great to have you on the program. Thank you so much. Tony's going to stick around.
Thank you.
Coming up next, is Lindsay Shiver a flight risk?
What's your reaction to seeing Robert for the first time today?
Y'all watching where you're going?
The disappearance of mother Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Lindsay, your reaction to going home. Your message for the boys. Mr. Wells, what's your reaction?
None at this time.
Do you have any comment? Do you still love Lindsay? What were you guys saying in court today? Would you ever want to hurt Robert, or is this all just accusations with no... Do you have any comment?
Matt Johnson in relentless pursuit of the story down in the Bahamas. Of course, we're talking about Lindsay Shiver and her alleged murder for hire plot of her husband, Robert. It was foiled. It never happened, so Robert can actually testify in the case. Let's bring back in Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas. And Cody, we've had some more developments, recent developments in the story involving the ankle monitor that Lindsay Shiver has to wear as a condition of being released. Apparently, she doesn't like it.
Well, that's exactly right, Vinny. She's had it on for 2 years, and naturally, she wants to take it off, so much so that she's now petitioned a Bahamian judge to have it taken off. Now, we have this photo obtained by the Daily Mail showing the ankle monitor around her ankle, standard ankle monitor that we've seen on plenty of people, celebrities who have you in your real life, maybe, but just just a regular ankle monitor from the Daily Mail. But here are the reasons that she wants to take this ankle monitor off. She says it causes, quote, painful bruises, sores, it disrupts her sleep, and it traumatizes her kids. She also claims to have had multiple job offers, including modeling and influencer work, but she says she can't do them with the monitor attached. Now, this is all according to her petition to the judge. Now, she currently lives on a ranch with her parents in Alabama, but she wants to return to Georgia to spend more time with her kids. She also says working modeling jobs will help her pay for her legal fees. Now, she also says this is the kicker here, Vinny. She says she can't go to the beach because the device will naturally get wet. But, Vinny, her arguments will be heard in person on December 8th, 2025, in person in front of a Bahamian judge. So we'll see if she gets granted to get that ankle monitor taken off.
Okay. I wonder if she bathes, right?
That's a good question to have. You're right about getting water on the beach.
Yeah, whatever you do when you put in the shower, that's what you got to put it on when you go to the beach. I know it's not exactly what you want, but it is what it is. All right, Cody, thanks so much. Now, the reason you wear that is because to ensure that you show up in court. Now, she's due in court in the Bahamas, but she's staying here in the States in Alabama. So if she wants it taken off, it brings us to the next question in our investigation. Is Lindsay Shiver a flight risk? Do you need the monitor, or is she going to show up no matter what? Do you really need to know where she is all the time? Here to help answer our question with us, joining us, criminal defense attorney, former district attorney Matthew Mangino, and still with us, true crime podcaster from Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. It's Tony Bruschi. All right, Matthew Mangino, what are your thoughts here? Do you think she's an actual flight risk at this point?
I don't think she's a flight risk. In fact, I think she loves the attention. She's not going to take off and go hide away somewhere and be out of the public eye. She wants to be in the public eye. She wants to be an influencer. So I don't see her as being a threat to flee. I think she relishes this spotlight. There may have been a time in the past where being accused of wanting to kill your husband would be a killer for a career or a dead end. Now, it makes you an influencer, or at least someone who thinks they can be one. So she's been brought back because she took the monitor off once. She didn't take off then. I think she wants to go to trial. I think she wants to challenge these charges. She's looking for a not guilty verdict, and this is going to launch her as a model and an influencer.
Tony, I think she's only a flight risk if you give her a private jet. Then she's definitely a flight risk. But I don't think she has access to it anymore. Speaking of Lindsay's with ankle monitors, Lindsay Lohan had one for a while, and she was taking pictures, and it looked fine. You got to embrace it. Maybe bedazzle it or something.
Exactly. Improvise a little bit here. Get creative. I think it all really depends on her ego if she is a flight risk. Right now, with the way she's playing the cards, standing and fighting is probably the play. She gets to be the wrongly accused woman, the victim of an overzealous prosecution, the mother torn from her children. That's the narrative that she can work with. It's content. It's sympathetic. That's why she's showing up on GMA petitioning for her ankle monitor removal, talking about her influencer career. She's building a brand around all of this. But what happens, though, if that narrative collapses? What happens if the court stops giving her chances and the reality of 60 years in a Bohemian prison becomes unavoidable? That is when the calculation could change. Will it change? Could it? Anything's possible. And someone with resources, maybe private jets, property in the Bahamas, family money, they have options that most defendants don't. So the traditional flight risk question, it's about means and motive. She has the means. The motive depends entirely on which version of the story protects her ego best. Right now, that's the defendant area. But people like this are survivalists above all else. If fleeing becomes a path of least resistance to her self-image, she'll find a way to justify it. She'll be the woman who had no choice because the system was against her. That's what makes her unpredictable. It's not about the rules. It's about whatever serves her in the moment. And that should make any judge nervous.
Yeah, and I just hope that she wouldn't be a flight risk because of the 3 children, that she'd want to be around for them. And speaking of the modeling, I don't know. I don't think she's going to be a foot model necessarily, right? There's the ankle monitor's a problem there. But we have Photoshop. You can take that. I mean, if I took a picture with my iPhone, I could remove that ankle monitor. So it's silly. She could be a podcaster. There's a lot that she could do. We have about 30 seconds left here, Matthew Mangino. What's your analysis? Do you think this goes to trial? Do you think she gets convicted? Do you think she actually ends up in a Bahamian jail?
Well, I don't think it's a great case. You fumble upon these messages in a phone and do you have a cooperating witness? Do you have something more than these phone messages to build your case around? I wouldn't be surprised if this went to trial and she was found not guilty.
I think there's a chance, too. You never know. I don't know the Bahamian system that well. Only the Anna Nicole Smith case. That was the only one we ever covered down there. Big thank you, Matthew Mangino. Great to see you. Tony Bruschi, Hidden Killers. Check it out, folks. It's amazing. All right. People get divorced. It happens. And when you're rich with children, it gets a little more complicated. Child support, custody, alimony. But inevitably, millions of people figure it out. It's not perfect, but it's not unusual. That's why this whole case is baffling. In a divorce, Lindsay and the children would have been taken care of. Custody would have been shared, and no one, trust me, no one was going to the poorhouse. There was no reason for a murder plot, none. But that doesn't mean she didn't do it. I'm Vinnie Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.